Your immune system being your best defense. Now, all of us are concerned with the current COVID-19. And, I've heard so many people on the radio saying that they cannot get their masks and their hand sanitizers, etc., and all that, right? But what is the most important thing that's, that during this situation that's important to us, okay? Let me share what I know with you, and I hope this will empower you and your family, okay? So your immune system is your best defense. And I'm not just talking about the novel coronavirus we're facing right now, but all other kinds of inflammation, okay? Now, so your immune response is so essential. It helps to control and eliminate COVID-19. But not just that. I mean, apart from all the other coronaviruses under the same umbrella, like your influenzas, which is, happens every single year rather, right? So, but all other inflammation that happens in our bodies all the time that we're sometimes not aware of, right? And that's why sometimes when you hear, at a lunch place or at a coffee shop, and you can always hear people saying, oh, I have a friend and, she was all okay on one day, and the next day she suddenly had this particular problem, heart disease, diabetic, cancer, etc. She looked all well, or some even collapsed from stroke. And they say, oh, it's so sudden. Let me just share something with you, everybody, today. Nothing comes sudden. It's all from inflammations. So basically your innate immune system plays a huge role in protecting yourself in all circumstances. And your innate immune system is under attack every single day, every single minute as we're speaking. Okay. So before I begin, I didn't really want to talk about introducing the virus, because I think all of us, we know, and we're being spammed with a lot of information and news, whether real or not, okay? So, but I want to talk to you today about your immune system and how that really impacts you, right? So I'm just going to play a very short video rather than me talking about it. I'm going to play a very short video to help you understand better from this illustration, okay? So it's about a 7-minute video, so let's all watch this together.
So the new name that the WHO has given the virus is called SARS-CoV-2, and the disease that it causes is being known as COVID-19. This is the virus, this is the disease. This case is outside of China. Now they start looking at total cases excluding mainland China. And in terms of those cases, we are not seeing a leveling off, but more of still this epidemic. So it looks as though things are still taking off outside of China. When we look at cases per day, we can see here that just in the last couple of days, we've had the most number of cases outside of China being diagnosed. I want to talk a little bit about the viral infection itself and immunity. For that, we're going to draw out a little bit of a schematic here on how this happens. So the first thing that happens is, of course, you have this virus particle, which we'll draw as stars. And these stars are outside the body. So this could be an airway, this could be inside the GI tract. So this virus goes in and latches on to cells, receptors, and it causes these cells to become infected with the virus. And of course, the virus takes over the machinery of the cells and it causes it to make more of it and proteins. And so these cells will be coated with these proteins on the outside. And of course, more particles are made, these cells explode, and they release more and more of these virus particles. Here on the blood side, you've got things called cells, which are blood cells, and one of those cells is called an antigen-presenting cell. And so these cells start to go in and extravasate from the blood into the tissue, and they're able to recognize these cells that are abnormal because of these abnormal proteins on the surface. So these antigen-presenting cells envelop and destroy these virally infected cells. So let's show a little bit more of a close-up of how that happens. So we have this antigen-presenting cell, and inside the antigen-presenting cell is the cell that is infected with virus, and it's got virus particles on it. And so what's very important what this antigen-presenting cell does is it presents the antigen. So here is the antigen presented on the outside of that cell. This is the most important thing that the antigen-presenting cell can do, because what it then does is it meets up with something called a Th1 response, or a CD4 positive cell. And this cell here is the mastermind behind your cellular mediated immunity, because this antigen here will latch on to this CD4 positive Th1 cell, and it will release IL-12, which is a chemical that comes from the antigen presenting cell that stimulates this cell to go and fight anything that looks like this on it, that antigen. And so there's major responses that can occur. Number one is that these Th1 CD4 cells will then stimulate another type of T cell called the CD8 cells, and those are killer cells. And they go out, and all they do, they will kill any cell that has those antigens on it. The way that that happens is it has little proteins on the surface that will recognize this and cause docking to occur. So you want that connection to be very, very tight. Another thing that this Th1 can do is it can stimulate in the blood and tissue B cells, and these B cells will produce antibodies. Look like this, and these antibodies will bind to these antigens and neutralize them. So this really is immunity. And this is the key that allows you to survive a viral infection. This is what determines whether or not you get admitted to the floor or whether or not you go to the intensive care unit. Because if this reaction doesn't occur correctly and this immunity doesn't get on top of the viruses quickly and limit them, kind of quarantining this, then you get wide viral infections all over the body, and the amount of infection causes more immunity, which causes more inflammation, and that's why people die. If you do get coronavirus, you want your immune system working perfectly. And wouldn't it be nice if there was something that we could do to enhance this IL-12 response, to enhance the ability of this binding to occur, to enhance the ability of CD8 killer cells to bind their targets and to destroy, to enhance the ability of Th1 CD4 cells to create and stimulate actually these B cells to make antibodies? Well, there actually is something that we can do that can enhance this. Number one, it's not a drug. Number two, it's absolutely free. There's no money involved. Number three, you can do it anywhere. And the answer is sleep. And enough of it greatly enhances the ability of the antigen presenting cell binding to the Th1 and promoting IL-12. Sleep also prevents the breaking up of this binding site with CD8 killer cells with the antigen. Sleep has a tremendous effect on your immune response against viruses. And the patients were sleeping because these hormones were at very low levels that prevented the inhibition of this GAS, G protein, which caused better binding and more effective killing of these infected cells. At the beginning of the night, when you go to sleep, normally, let's say around 10 p.m., the first thing that occurs is that you should be having more slow wave sleep at the beginning of the night, and towards the end of the night, more REM sleep. Well, they're starting to see that slow wave sleep is integral in the production of growth hormone, and growth hormone has tremendous effects on immunity. And the secretion of IL-12, which is what we recall is the thing that causes the antigen presenting cell to stimulate the Th1 response with the CD4 cells. So that's tied to slow wave sleep. This is the sleep right here that occurs, generally speaking, between 10 p.m. and 1 a.m. in the morning. And this is the sleep that we cut off the most by going to bed late. And so we're losing out on growth hormone, and our immunity stinks because of it.
Okay, so I'm not sure how much of that video you all understood, and it may be a bit scientific with all the antigens, all the antigens and scientific names, but those really, I love those kind of science, okay? But if you don't understand it, that's really fine, because I will go through step by step what we can do, right? Because so now more than ever, we're looking for solutions and avenues how we can basically protect ourselves from all the viruses that's happening. And in fact, I will say that this particular virus has heightened our awareness to our immune system. I mean, all of us are Googling immune system, what we can do to help ourselves, right? And that's why we're all here. So therefore, the key to your immune system that most people may not realize lies in your digestive system. Can you imagine? The key to your immune system essentially is your digestive system. And I'll explain why. Okay, your digestive system essentially manages your entire immune system. So therefore, the stronger your digestive system, the stronger your metabolism. And the stronger your metabolism, the stronger your immunity. Does that make sense? Okay, now we all hear our moms and our aunts and our grandparents tell us, you are really what you eat. And at this point, we want to build our immune system. You must be careful with what you eat. So you see, people always tell us, you must be careful. You are what you eat. So now, how true is that? I'll give you a few seconds to ponder. Now, tell yourself the answer, and I'll tell you the right answer, okay? Well, in essence, you are what you metabolize. And when you can metabolize optimally, then you absorb. Okay, so in essence, you are not, well, are you what you eat? Well, it's a half. Okay, that's half of the whole equation. In essence, you are what you metabolize and you are what you absorb. Okay, so now all of us now are scrambling, to buy the best organic food, free range, antibiotic chicken, etc., etc., etc. But my question to all of you is this: what is the point of eating the healthiest food without optimizing digestion? Because now we know that digestion is the key to our immune system, right? So the stronger the digestion, the stronger your metabolism. And the stronger your metabolism, the better you absorb, right? So now ask yourself this question: how many of us face bloating, constipation, acid reflux or heartburn, or gas? Now, if you face any of these challenges, basically it's your digestion, it's poor digestive system. Okay, so now our body works when all our systems are working, all 5 of our systems are working optimally, with your nervous system, your digestive system, your muscular system, respiratory, etc. Right? So now, but the first one of these systems that starts to, well, wear and tear, the give way, essentially is our digestive system. And that's why we get all these issues with bloating and gas and constipation, etc. Right? So if you have these issues, then you have to take a serious note, because you're not digesting well. And when you don't digest well, you can have the most expensive food, the most healthiest food, the most balanced food, but you're not optimizing your absorption. Okay? So now we're talking about digestion. Now this is your entire digestive system, right? And we all know, most of us will know, that digestion happens and starts with, not in your stomach, but at your mouth, that's where digestion begins. Okay, so when you start to chew, your salivary glands will now secrete enzyme called amylase that will start to break down carbohydrates. Okay, so digestion starts in your mouth, and then proteins in your stomachs, and then fats in your part of it from your small intestines. But I'm just going to go one step behind. Okay, we all know. Give me 1 second. I didn't turn on my phone to silence. Okay, well, back. Now, although digestion happens, well, in the mouth, but can I just tell you something? Digestion, in essence, starts in your brains. Okay, in your brains. Okay, now all of us now just take a moment to close your eyes, okay, and imagine you're in a kitchen. You're in a kitchen now, you take a lemon slice and you put on a chopping board and you start to slice this lemon into half, okay, and you can smell the aroma, and then you take the squeezer and you start to squeeze this particular lemon into a glass for your juice. Now, what happens? Immediately, a lot of people will tell me you start to salivate, right? And that starts actually to priming your mouth to secrete more saliva to start its breakdown of food and the stomach acids as well. So in essence, you know, the people that I consult and I talk to, I always tell people, try to make your food as appetizing, because we really feast with our eyes first, and then, you know, the whole process takes place. Okay, so we all know that now digestion takes place in our mouth, so we try and focus on the task at hand, because digestion is that important. Okay, so digestion from our brains. Okay, and then when we start to, so I always say during meal times, okay, the most important thing I will always recommend is disconnect to connect. What do I mean? Disconnect with our phones. Okay, how many of us eat on the go when we're watching, or you know, when we're eating, when we're working, or we're food binging when we're doing our work, or in a car, or you know, and we're stressed out. And now that really affects our digestion as well. Okay, because our digestion, right, is managed by our nervous system. Okay, so now our nervous system, now see, our digestion is actually controlled by our nervous system, which has two systems, right? Two different states. One is what I call the rest and digest. The other is the fight or flight. So when you're resting and digesting and eating your food and talking and enjoying your food, right? So all the necessary acids will take place. Your brain stimulates all these acids, and enzymes start breaking down, right? And you're focused on the task at hand, which is nourishing your body for a good cause, because you want to build your immune system. Okay, but when you're eating in a stress state, you know, in a car or etc., right? Your body, that you produce less salivary glands. Your body is not primed for digestion. So, and then you get this feeling of bloatedness, indigestion, and gas, and you know, all these uncomfortable feelings of bloat. And that's what happens. Okay, so that's a tip, right? So during meal times, disconnect, connect, and be grateful for the food. I always say, give gratitude to the food at that meal. Okay, so that really helps in terms of putting your body at rest, and then rest and digest. Okay, so that your body can, so that normal physiology digestion can take place. Okay. Now, so when we're eating, now, again, I say always the same thing. In life, everything is about balance. All 5 systems must be in balance before we can be in a tip-top condition, okay? So now, when we know that now with digestion, we need to disconnect to connect and focus at the task at hand, which is eat slowly, chew your food until into a liquid state, and then swallow, etc. So at the same time, you know, how often should we be eating? Now, a lot of people that I know, they take 1 meal in a hurry, or 2 meals, because, you know, they don't have enough time, or lifestyle, or stress. But the right way essentially is eating PFC, proteins, fats, and carbohydrates every 3 hours. Okay, only by doing then your body, your blood sugar levels will be in a state of homeostasis, which is balance. So your endocrine system needs to be balanced as well, for you to have proper concentration, better concentration, mental clarity, energies. Okay, now, so how do we do that? Okay, now, why do we need to be in homeostasis, or why do we need to eat PFC every 3? It's very simple. Now, I'll take an example of a car. So if I were to tell you, okay, now this particular car, I'm going to get in, I want my son, for example, to drive me to Penang and back without topping up gas. Do you think it's possible? Do you think any vehicle can take me from Singapore to Penang and back without topping up on fuel? Well, it's impossible, right? Exactly, because there's a limit to how much the tank can hold. Now, so our body's energy source is called ATP, and that's our energy, right? And our primary source of energy is glucose. Okay, now, so glucose essentially is stored in our liver. Now, the maximum capacity our liver can hold is about 480 calories, or about 120 grams of glucose. And that will about last us 3 to 4 hours at max before our blood sugar will crash. Okay, and as with every car, if your control your gases down, the car will give you a signal, am I right? And the car will flash its red light to signal to you that it's low on fuel. Now, your body is exactly the same, okay? It will give you signals. For example, they say a hungry man is an angry man. So you see red, very much like your car, okay? Other things would be you'll feel hungry, your stomach will be growling, etc. And most importantly, you will start to crave. And typically, when you're hungry, you will be craving for your kaya toast, your cookies, your biscuit, or something sweet. And why is that so? Because we go back to the fundamentals, because your body's first energy source is glucose, right? And so your mind, your brain, your pituitary gland will now stimulate and make you crave for something fast that's fuel for your body, okay? But the problem is the moment you eat something very high in carbohydrates or glucose, you spike your insulin, okay? Because insulin needs to be secreted from your pancreas to now balance your blood sugars. Now, there's a slight problem with this. Now, the over-excessive spike of insulin causes two major problems. Number one is insulin is a fat-storing hormone. That's number one. Number two is that it produces what I call IGF, insulin growth factors, and that leads to inflammation. And at our current situation, we want to have our bodies at the lowest rate of inflammation as possible, so that we can perform optimally to fight all the external other virus and inflammations that's going on. Right? So you don't want to promote more inflammation that's unnecessary. So when you have a spike of insulin in your body to balance your blood sugars because of the unbalanced diet, the body produces insulin as well as IGF, which is insulin growth factors, which basically promotes inflammation that leads to a lot of chronic diseases like your cancers, etc. Okay, so at this point, your body is on a spike crash, and there's nothing balanced within your blood sugar levels, nor your hormones, right? And your leptin, your ghrelin, your glucagon, and your insulin. At this point, nothing is stable, and therefore you cannot be the best of your digestion as well. Okay, so talk about nutrition. So now we know we need to be in a state of homeostasis. I'm going to go through the macronutrients we need to keep ourselves at optimal health. Now, nutrition of your macronutrition can be essentially into three different layers, and the first layer being your whole foundation food. So I always say we're real people. So real people eat real food, not canned food or food that's been stored with an expiry date of a year or 2 years. Okay, so go back to your fundamentals and look for good, clean, high quality proteins, fats, as well as carbohydrates. That's your macronutrients. And the second layer is what I call the gap filler food. And earlier on, I mentioned about having proteins, fats, and carbs every 3 hours so that we don't crash our blood sugars, right? So therefore, you will see that if you have like lunch or breakfast at like 7 o'clock in the morning or 7:30, at about 11 o'clock, you kind of feel hungry or peckish. And even if you have, lunch at 1, at about 4, you kind of feel hungry. And that's actually your body talking to you, communicating with you, that is calling for a gas top-up, or rather a filler, okay? So that you don't crash your blood sugars, okay? So that is very important. So the second layer is what I call the mid-morning and mid-afternoon meal, so-called meal, complete high protein, high good quality fats and carbohydrates meal. That is very essential. It's not that you're greedy, but it's an essential part of your nutrition as well. Okay, and the last, I cannot stress enough, it's your micronutrients, which is your vitamins, mineral, and water. And I mentioned earlier, right? Of all your 5 systems, your digestive system is the first to have wear and tear. And so even if you eat the best of food and with a bad lifestyle, for example, you don't eat PFC, proteins, fats, and carbs every 3 hours, we are, abusing, our digestive system. And therefore, as we age, we will have more digestive problems. We have less digestive enzymes, and that gives rise to bloating and gas, etc. Right? So, and because we don't absorb as much, so therefore we need at this point, every one of us, not just at this point because of the virus, but at all points, we need to give our body a boost of its antioxidants, multivitamins, electrolytes, etc. So, and one of the most understated micronutrient is water. So we need to keep ourselves hydrated. For ladies, 2 to 3 liters of water. For males, 3 to 4 liters of water, so that we can keep ourselves hydrated and so that your liver can do what it's supposed to do, which is to detoxify and flush out all the toxins. Okay, so these are the 3 layers of nutrition. Essentially, the 6 essential nutrients all of us need to be in tip-top condition. Okay, now I'm going to talk about the clean list of food and portion sizes, because so many times I've heard people saying, I eat really healthy, but I'm bloating. I eat this small size like a pigeon and I'm still bloating and I have gas and I can't digest and I don't know what I should be doing, right? So what I always recommend now, because again, I'm going to reiterate this the whole night, your digestion is the key to your immune system. So if you have challenges like bloat and gas and constipation, I'd like you to go back to basics and start to understand your body a little bit better so that it can work better for you. Okay, so I'd say start with 5 clean proteins so that we can know whether we're digesting well enough. So these are the list of the clean proteins that I would recommend, like for example, chicken, egg whites, lean fish, etc. Okay, so I would say choose from 5. We start off with 5 kind of proteins, maybe 2 to 3 different kinds of healthy fats, right? Now, so a lot of people say, yeah, but why do we need fats? Okay, so I want to say this. If I call somebody a fat head or a fatty head, I'm not insulting you, because our brains is made up of 60% fat. So for us to have mental clarity, for us to perform well and to synthesize fat, we need healthy fats as well. Okay, so we're going to, however, not all fats were created equal and not all carbohydrates were also created equal. So this is a very good list for us to try to, understand our digestion better. So we can choose like 3 to 4 different kinds of healthy fats like avocados, nuts, whole grain seeds, etc., as well as carbs. So we want to keep our food as clean as possible. If you want to take your digestion to the next level, that is, right? So to understand what kind of foods gives you problem. Because when we eat so many kinds of food, right, at one sitting, we have chicken, we have fish, we have so many things, right? And then you ask yourself, I don't know what will happen. I had this particular dinner last night and I'm bloated. I had this particular thing, so you can't tell, right? So it's the same thing like for allergy. If someone has allergy and you go to a nutritionist or an allergy doctor, they'll tell you to eliminate your food and introduce, and that's how babies do it. We go by elimination, right? So we go back to basic, we eat cleaner. And then if you have no problem with chicken, you introduce a new protein week by week. So you understand your body better and you understand which protein gives you digestive challenges. And if we all have these 3 key tips, which is meal interval, which is proteins, fats, and carbs every 3 hours to help boost our digestive system so that we don't wreck our metabolism, because again, your metabolism determines how much you absorb, right? Okay, so PFC every 3 hours, and then choose from high quality proteins, healthy fats, as well as what I call it smart carbohydrates. Okay, carbohydrates that are low or medium in glycemic index. So for the people who are new, what basically is the glycemic index? Now, glycemic index essentially measures how sugar is released into your bloodstream, so it doesn't spike. Okay, so at this point, I want to give you a slight tip. Now, building your health, we need to start from the basics, like how you would build a house. The foundation comes first, okay? So how not to spike insulin so that we don't have IGF, right? Is when you have a house, what does every house need? A roof, right? A roof, okay? So proteins are kind of like your roof, okay? So, and I always say eat in this sequence. Have your soup, have your veggies, eat your proteins, and then have your carbohydrates. Now, why do I say in this particular sequence? Because if you see from the earlier charts, digestion happens in your mouth with an enzyme called amylase, and it digests predominantly carbohydrates. So when you eat your rice and everything first, then the tendency to spike insulin is really high. So And proteins are only digested in your stomach with the enzymes from proteins to amino acids. So when we eat in this particular manner and we don't hurriedly eat and we chew our food, the proteins basically help balances your blood sugar. It provides like a roof so that when you eat your whether it's your rice or your wraps or whatever, it kind of provides a roof not to spike insulin. I hope that gives you a little bit of a tip. Okay, so protein, apart from giving building muscles as well as all of those goodness and vitamins and minerals, proteins also help balances your blood sugar by providing that particular roof so as not to spike your insulin. Okay, so I hope that helps. So choose from this list five proteins, 2 to 3 different kinds of healthy fats, and carbohydrates. So it's like what works for me. So everybody has different digestion. Some people's digestion are like solid rock. Some people have worse, and they eat certain foods and they can't even identify what those foods are. They think it's an allergy, but it just really could be a digestion problem. Okay, so start clean and then introduce these foods so that you know what are your food challenges. Okay. Now, we've more or less covered the macronutrients. Now I want to cover the micronutrients. Now, within Y.E.S, we have what we call the Y.E.S system, which is the Youth Enhancement System. Now, this is a phenomenal system because it's synergistic and it goes beyond that of normal supplements. And I will show you the powers of it in the slides to come. Okay. So what I want to tell you is the amazing powers of this particular, something like a multivite, but goes beyond the multivite because it works in the cellular and genetic levels. Now, the earlier video that you saw in all those, scientific terms of the cells and everything, you may not understand. So I'm just going to simplify everything for you. Essentially, we're nothing but cells. So our cells need to perform optimally so that it can fight all kinds of viral infection and inflammation. Now, the difference is this. Now we know we need to top up in terms of our micronutrients, but not all micronutrients are made equal as well. Okay, so it has to be able to be absorbed by the cells and then go right down to cellular levels as well as genetic levels so it can work from the inside out. Okay. Now, this particular and what I call the most formidable vitamin multivites, so-called multivites, is by Dr. Vincent Giampapa. Well, he's known to be the father of anti-aging. Okay, and this particular product received in 2014 the Nobel Prize nomination for his stem cell research work. Now, Dr. Vincent Giampapa, he's the founder of the 4As in the US. Okay, but let me explain to you now. We're about the only this particular product is about the only, as far as I'm speaking today, only product that can claim to have scientific proof and backing to say that it is a nutrigenetics, which means nutrition right down to DNA level. I mean, we all heard about the cells, etc., right? But right down in the core of the cells, the software of our cells is our DNA, and therefore these become mutated and they can't send these signals and receptors. Okay, so the basic unit, back to science, a little bit more about science. Okay, so bear with me. The basic unit of our body is our body cells and our adult stem cells. So the body cells are the ones that helps with all the inflammation and etc. Okay, our daily supply. The adult stem cells, basically from our bone marrow, that basically is released to help our body cells to maintain. Okay, so now this has to be always optimal. I always say this: health is like a balance. Okay, I'm gonna just show you an example. Now imagine this to be a lever, and this is the fulcrum. Now every day, where our cells are being attacked. So this is your revitalized cells, this is your damaged cells. And at this point in time, we have so much inflammation and virus going on, right? So, but your body cells and your adult stem cells are able to replace these damaged cells, okay? The problem is when we don't take care of our digestive system that gives rise to lower metabolism and lesser absorption, then our stem cells are weakened and this thing happens, okay? So that's when our revitalized cells are lesser of, well, more inferior quality and lesser in circulation to replace our damaged cells. And that's why in the earlier video that we saw, the people who are more prone to have more severe case of the COVID-19 would be either the very young or the old, or people already with health issues, because the immune system is not great and they're already fighting a lot of inflammations and challenges within the body. Okay, so therefore it is really, really, really essential that we take care of ourselves, because, but I tell you, ladies and gentlemen, we're nothing but cells. We're all equal and we're all about cellular health. Okay, so but what people don't realize is these cells with our DNA inside, the genes, right? They can be turned on and they can be turned off. A lot of times our genes are in what I call hibernation mode, and they're not being turned on. So because AMPM, this amazing nutrigenetic, right, is able to work at the level of our genes. Now, and therefore it is able to turn on some genes, which I will explain more later, and turn off some of our genes. So, but why do you think we need to turn off these genes? And I'll also show them, so just bear with me, okay? So therefore, the youth enhancement system, the most fundamental, it is anything that you need, the most fundamental product, I would say, is the AMPM, because it's all about increasing your stem cells at the maximum, as well as decreasing inflammation, okay? And DNA repair is key. If you have cells that cannot perform its job, like what you saw earlier, these cell receptors are not working, right? Then your cells cannot signal to all the other T cells, the helper cells, the natural killer cells, to do its job. And I'll give an example. For example, you have a phone that is 4G enabled and Wi-Fi enabled, okay? So you have a phone and I have a phone that is either Wi-Fi or 4G enabled, so we can connect. So I can text you and say, hey, Mary, I'm gonna be a bit late today for a meeting. So because we're Wi-Fi or 4G enabled, Mary is able to receive the message, right? Okay. Or if I say, Mary, quick come and help me, it's urgent, SOS, send help. So Mary is able to receive the particular message. However, at this point, if my cell is damaged, so it's like the 4G has been disabled, there's no data, there's no Wi-Fi, despite the fact that I have a phone that is 4G or Wi-Fi enabled, Mary is now unable to receive that message. Okay, I hope you understand this analogy. Your cells has the innate ability to repair and send signals for backup for these T cells to come help, okay, and to stimulate more. Especially when we're sleeping, we need to have more growth hormones to help us in our reparation, okay. However, when our cells are damaged, our fundamental cells are damaged, it's unable to duplicate and then send more signals. So that's why I say DNA and cell health is key. So I'm just going to go back a little bit first. So therefore, number one, digestion is very important. The stronger your digestion, the better your metabolism. The better your metabolism, the better the absorption. Okay? So now that if you have taken care of your micronutrients and you have a better, a more rock-solid digestion now, right? So now you need products that your cells can absorb right down to cellular levels. Okay, because not all supplements are made equal. Okay, now supplements in the old era, what I call supplements, they basically top up a deficiency. So if you're deficient in vitamin B12 or magnesium for moods, iron, zinc, etc. So you have a whole concoction of it, right? But the AMPM is slightly different in the sense that it is not a supplement to top up a deficiency, because that's what basically it means by targeting the effects of aging, which is cellular aging. So the AMPM and the Y.E.S system basically deals with the root cause of aging, which is cellular damage. And cellular damage can happen in all kinds of ways. Free radicals, inflammation the body is fighting with, insufficient vitamins and minerals to keep our body running at optimal, at its optimal, inflammation, etc. Okay. So in essence, right, the AMPM not only stimulates and regulates our adult stem cells, but as well as your stomata. Okay. So therefore, Now, most people are wondering, why are there two different formulas? Why there's an AM and there's a PM? Very simply, because our body operates on our nervous system, our autonomic system. In our autonomic system, as you can see, our sleeping and our awake are two different systems. One is the sympathetic, which is the day when you're awake, and the night, which is when you're asleep, the parasympathetic. And when you're asleep and you're awake, you need two absolutely different kinds of nutrients the body needs. Okay, so AM PM targets not just what you need when you're awake, but it's when you're sleeping. Okay, so when you look into the ingredients, which I'll show you later within AM and PM, it kind of looks like a multivite because it contains from vitamins, minerals A, Z, B, zinc, magnesium, etc. Right? But it is more than just a normal multivite. It goes beyond that of a multivite. But these vitamins and minerals essentially act as a catalyst for these complexes, which is number one, DNA repair. This is what we all need because every day our cells are being mutated, are being attacked. So DNA repair is fundamental. Number two is stem cell maintenance. We need to maintain our stem cells like how you maintain a car, right? As well as telomere protection. Now, telomere has been the talk in the scientific world in the last decade. Now, those of you who don't know what telomere is, I'll explain it to you. Now, you know the shoelace, the cap of a shoelace. Now, so the telomeres are like the cap of a shoelace. So essentially, if you keep stepping on your cap of the shoelace, what happens to your shoelace? It frays, right? So the telomeres are the cap of the shoelace. So when we don't take care of that, now these telomeres are basically like the caps of the chromosome. Okay, so when we don't, with aging, free radicals, etc., these telomeres kind of like chip off. Okay, so when we and it will keep shortening. The cap will keep shortening, and the problem is this: when these telomeres shorten till there's nothing left, what it means is that we check out from this world. So the telomeres essentially dictates our longevity. So within AM and PM, it basically protects our telomeres, the cappings on our chromosomes. Okay. At the same time, this amazing thing, these complexes activates free radical scavengers. Now, what does that mean? Now, a lot of people know that free radicals are the pollutions and all these external things that that we breathe in that affects our cells. But what a lot of people don't realize is when you eat your micronutrients, which is your proteins, fats, and your carbohydrates, like your car, when you put gas in, okay, and the engine will have a combustion, then your car can move, right? So it burns the petrol and the car moves. So your body burns the glucose for you to have energy, ATP. But when that happens, your body also produces exhaust. And that exhaust is free radicals. And these free radicals essentially attack like light pins on your cell membranes and causing the 4G lapse, which means because our cells signal through the cell membrane, the gene expression and cell signaling are on the cell membrane. So what this amazing AM/PM does, it becomes like a buffer and it scavenges for these free radicals so as to protect your cells. And that's why I say these products are right down to cellular level, okay? As well as calorie restriction complex. Now, a lot of people will be wondering, what does calorie restriction complex mean? Does it mean we can lose weight? Well, in essence, kind of yes. Because if you metabolize better, of course, then you burn more fat. But in essence, we all know the people in Okinawa, they are like centenarians. They live right through 100 years old, right? And why is that so? It's because they have a diet that's really low in calorie. And when that happens, you turn on your longevity gene, okay? And the longevity gene basically escalates and enhances cellular reparation. And so without you having to be on a diet, constant diet, AM/PM basically helps to mimic calorie restriction so that it enhances cellular repair. Okay? So these are the natural extracts within the AM PM, and you can see all these blue-green algae, turmeric root, as well as quercetin. Okay, and that really helps drop inflammation that is so needed at times like this. Okay, so this AM PM, especially we take it because it has all these flavonoids as well as quercetin that actually drops inflammation, and it's the most natural. And the most important thing is that it is bioavailable, which means it crosses all boundaries and is able for your cells to absorb. Okay, so therefore the pass, right? You need to take a whole bowl, like a cereal bowl of vitamins A, B, C, B complex, magnesium, for you to be optimal. Well, the future is here. The future is AM PM, just 2 capsules in the morning for all your body requirements to fight its free radicals, scavengers, etc., stem cell maintenance, and B, give you for AM, because we need to be at our mental best for all its challenges. So AM does that. So what does PM do? So PM basically contains things like jujube, valerian root, and melatonin. So it induces longer and better REM sleep. That's the key. Now, all of you heard what was the free thing that your body needs to fight COVID-19. It was sleep. But the problem is, with our lifestyle, with our stress, and our work and our commitments, and especially now with economic slowdown, we're all stressed out. Most of us don't have 1, slow wave sleep, 2, REM sleep. So therefore, our state of sleep is compromised. And how many of us can say we each have the best 7 to 8 hours sleep daily? We don't. And a lot of times when we're in bed, we don't sleep well, we wake up in the middle of the night. So therefore, the PM has this amazing properties that help to induce sleep, that gives you that slow wave sleep that's so needed. At the same time, REM sleep. Okay, so it's not just melatonin, but valerian root, jujube, as well as melatonin to give you the both slow wave sleep as well as REM sleep. Isn't that amazing? Isn't that so amazing? I'm so impressed. Okay, so number 1, sleep. Okay, so this basically, although sleep, as what the doctor said earlier, is free, but it's so elusive to so many of us with our lifestyle and our stress. It's free, but it's so elusive. Okay, so the AM and PM are designated to help improve sleep. And even if, the beautiful thing is this, so even if you cannot afford the 7 hours sleep, a good 5 hours sleep with PM will give you that added 2 more hours of sleep. Okay, so therefore with proper sleep, it basically helps our digestion. Why? Simply, every single night, most of us, the last thing before we do, which is for me, but affects my PM, is to charge my handphone, right? Because we need to work the next day and we don't want to leave the house with a phone that is 20% charged because it needs to work, right? So our body's adrenal gland is also your battery, right? So if you don't sleep, you don't perform, and your cortisol levels will be raised, your digestion is compromised, your anti-inflammation, your inflammation is increased, and the whole host. So sleep is that, I cannot stress the importance of sleep. So PM gives you that, okay? And of course, DNA functions, improves your cell receptors because it has all these scavengers, etc. And therefore, I can say it's a can't do without. It's a can't do without. So that's why I say of all the products within the Y.E.S system, AM PM is the fundamental product. Okay. So I've covered both the macro as well as the micro. So the AM PM will be enhanced with the Zen. Why do I say that? Most of us are fighting to have 2 healthy, balanced meals already as it is, and finding a challenge. So how do we optimally fuel ourselves every 3 hours? And that's where Zen comes in, because the Zen Fuels provides a nutritional gap. Now, please don't get mistaken that it's a protein shake, and therefore my daughter asked me, Mom, you're making me take my daughter now is doing the fuse every single day because she goes to work and take people's temperature, and that scares the hell out of me as a mom, right? So Zenfuse is a must because it's synergistic, that promotes when you're sleeping for more growth hormones to be released, right? So this is an essential. Now Zenfuse is an essential staple to keep our blood sugar balance as well as your endocrine balance, okay? But more important is one other product that is very understated, I think, in Singapore, which is the Zen Prime. Oh my God, the Zen Prime. Okay, why is the Zen Prime so important? Because at this juncture, we want to optimize our immune system. And all the food, 95% of our food goes through one organ, the liver. Okay, so the Zen Prime basically helps your liver perform optimally so that you can improve, number one, your digestion and your metabolism. Okay, so therefore it contains products to basically detoxify and clean the liver so that it can perform more optimally. Apart from that, it contains enzymes to increase digestion. So that's my can't do without, okay? So initially I thought that Zen Prime was essentially only for the detox, but no, make no mistake, I have it 8 weeks on, 2 weeks off, 8 weeks on, because it basically, I used to, because I was on all kinds of strange diets before, and I really wrecked my metabolism as well as my digestion, and I used to bloat whenever I eat carbohydrates. But now I can say that my digestive system is rock solid. That's why when people who come over and look over what I eat and they ask me, are you sure you're allowed to eat that as a nutritionist? And I say, if you have a solid digestive system and you eat right, I say 80-20, you're good to go. So Zen Prime is my can't do without, apart from the AM/PM, because Zen Prime predominantly detoxifies and flushes the liver, so that your liver can then do its function optimally, right, to detoxify, and then provides you enzymes to increase your digestion. Okay, so again, digestion, metabolism, immune system. Okay, perfect. So the powers of AM/PM is that we are the first and the only company currently, as I say, notice that we can claim that we're a nutraceutical product with scientific proof for the product, not by Y.E.S, but even by the China Medical University. Okay, so they have also done its studies, which I'm going to show you later, that it is not just a multivite, but it is a step, and I'll say a large step, beyond vitamins and minerals, which focuses on cellular aging. Okay, when your cells age, it can't do its function. Okay, so a lot of people have asked me, I've got this Benjamin Button syndrome, or I am Benjamin Button himself, and it's not because of me, it's because when you optimize your macronutrients, you watch your meal interval, you watch your ratio, and you pay attention to your vitamins and minerals, these magic will unfold in your lives, and your immune system will be at its best. Okay, so longevity gene, as I was saying, right? When you mimic a calorie restriction, why these people in Okinawa are able to live past 100 years old is because they have activated their calorie restriction gene, which is the SIRT1 gene. Okay, and these, with the scientific proof, right, from these universities, we can claim that, with our AM/PM, we are able to activate our SIRT1 gene. Okay, it's so amazing. Okay, and AM/PM now comes in 2 different formulas. Well, they do the same thing. The rapid delivery is slightly better for the powdered version, but nonetheless, we're the only products that can really cross all boundaries, and is in a bioavailable form. When I say bioavailable, it means it's available to your cells. So again, our cellular health is utmost importance to keep our immune system, as well as for antiviral inflammation, antibacterial inflammation, etc. Okay? Oh, one other thing I was going to say is that the Zenfuse also contains 5 strains of probiotics. Now, I cannot stress the importance of your entire digestive system. Your well, fiber is not just for a smoother bowel movement. Okay, make no mistake. It is to maintain the gut health. The gut health is everything because it basically balances your hormones as well as basically keeps your gut, your probiotics in your gut requires lots and lots of fiber to keep it healthy and functioning. Okay, so guys, fiber, it's not just for constipation, but it's to keep your gut health healthy because all these good bacteria in your intestine needs lots of fiber to feed it, to keep it healthy. So therefore, when you have lots of fiber, the other thing you'll need then is I told you, the most understated nutrient, which is water, to keep the whole movement smooth so that you have a smoother bowel movement. Okay? And thereby your entire digestive system is complete also. All right, so therefore now you know your immune response is essential to control, eliminate COVID-19 and all kinds of other infections, if you're in the US, the influenza is going on, etc., because they basically, the heightened immune system is able to detect its receptors. I want to share with you that these, especially the coronavirus, it's so powerful. They basically are able to escape the radar for detection, right? So you need to heighten your defense mechanism so that you are able to detect these external forces and then get them to eliminate them. Okay, so your immune system basically inhibits virus replication. Okay, promotes viral clearance, cellular repair, and basically helps to keep you keep your body and keep you and your body healthy. Give me 1 second right now. Give me 1 second. I'm just a bit distracted because my son's in the other room and it's very noisy. So I'm just going to ask him to soften down. Okay. Now, this is an article, not by me, but by the Middle East. There was a medical article that was written. Okay, so I can forward this to you. But well, SARS happened once, the last 8 to 9 years, but the MERS has repeatedly has gone on, had repeated relapse for the last 8 to 9 times, and because of this, a lot of studies was done how to prevent the MERS. Okay, so apart from the many things to help to reduce or inhibit viral activities, it was found that resveratrol is a very potent well, I would say drug. Okay, so it was able to, with all the studies being done, the conclusion is here. The conclusion that it was able to reduce the inflammation and inhibit. It was very successful to inhibit the MERS-CoV. Okay, so can you imagine? These are all under the coronavirus, where it's called the coronavirus because of its spikes, of its antigens. Okay, so resveratrol, what's a big word? Now, it's a natural occurring polyphenol stilbene found in grapes, mulberries, etc. Okay, so a lot of research and a lot of books and a lot of things have been documented on the amazing powers of resveratrol. But I'd like to highlight one thing though. Resveratrol comes in 2 different forms, the trans as well as the cis isomer forms. Okay, and the problem is the cis isomer form is a little bit unstable with its chemical enzyme. It's a bit unstable. So the form that resveratrol is most powerful and is most effective is in its trans form. Okay, you can take a picture if you want to. It comes in 2 different principles: the trans resveratrol and the cis resveratrol. And the problem with the cis is because it's unstable. It actually nullifies the effects of the trans resveratrol, which basically inhibits viral infection. So now we know that we need to keep fundamentally our health and our immune system and our digestion to be at its top notch, right? So now we go 1 step further. How do we combat and defend because we're out there, we're putting ourselves out there the minute we're going to work, in the bus. How do we give that additional defense to so-called nullify all these or inhibit all these viral infections? And that, to me, is very simple. Something that's easy and it's not a drug and we can take it is resveratrol. Okay. Now, Reserve is by Y.E.S, and we're not the first company to be selling a supplement that contains resveratrol, but I can say that at this point, we're the only company currently right now that has resveratrol, 100% of it in its trans form. Okay, so this small little packet of Reserve, apart from being a superfood fruits powerhouse of antioxidants, it contains a huge amount of resveratrol, which helps us in terms of its antiviral ability. Okay, so there you go. Y.E.S, resveratrol is 100% in its trans form. Okay, why is that so? Because resveratrol itself, it's not the easiest because it's easily metabolized. So only in its trans form that it has we can reap the maximum of its benefits. And the best part is it is in a gel form and it's bioavailable. And with this particular CAP-E testing, Reserve is able to absorb up to 95%, and that's phenomenal. So even if you have right now, you don't have a rock solid digestive system, your body is able to absorb it very quickly because the absorption rate is up to 95%. Okay, most pills, effervescents, or in the market have an absorption rate of only up to, I would say, 38 to 42%. And so that's why, well, for the last few weeks, Reserve was out of stock in the Singapore market because it is so potent in its trans form, and or rather, it is most potent in its most potent form. Okay. Apart from that, now most of us know what is antioxidants. How many of us know what are superoxides? Okay, so superoxide is not great for us, unlike antioxidants. So while PM and AM scavengers for free radicals, resveratrol scavengers for superoxide. We've got it all covered under one roof. That's why I call it the Y.E.S, the complete Y.E.S system. I'm in love with the Y.E.S system. Okay, so resveratrol is able to enhance longevity, and superoxide is basically oxidizes all our cells, causing it to have problems and inflammations, etc., and all the nasties none of us want. Okay, so resveratrol scavengers for superoxide. If you can't remember any of these fancy names, just remember resveratrol scavengers for superoxides. Okay, so the benefits are its antiviral mechanism, helps us in not just in influenza, hepatitis, etc. It is so amazing for so many other stuff. At the same time, it also mimics calorie restriction for longevity, to enhance our longevity cells. Okay, so I can only say that resveratrol, when I said turn on, so resveratrol is able to, not just resveratrol, Reserve, but AM, PM as well is able. Remember the earlier slide when I showed you about the turn on and off switch? So because it's down to cellular level, and we're talking about epigenetics, which means the ability to turn on and off cells, these two products, they turn on your longevity cells, okay, which is a cert one. Okay, however, it is also able to turn off the mTOR gene, which escalates senescent cells, which is unhealthy cells. So it's because when our cells are unhealthy, you heard earlier the video, these T cells, natural killer cells, right? They're supposed to self-destruct when the cells are affected with these antigens, right? So resveratrol induces apoptosis. Apoptosis basically means like kamikaze. You kill yourself. The cells are supposed to bind and kill itself. Okay, so resveratrol induces more of these cells apoptosis, which means cells that are not healthy anymore. it's supposed to kill itself, so you don't keep, because these proteins will keep growing within these senescent cells and they will explode and replicating more and more inflammation. And you don't want that. None of us want that. Okay, so resveratrol is shown to induce apoptosis within cells, so therefore down-regulating inflammation. Okay, I'm getting all excited. Can you all tell? Okay, so resveratrol, in essence, is high in antiviral, is super potent, and therefore, to me, is an elixir, not for mortality or anything, but an elixir and a solution to help the current viral inflammation that's going on, that can help your children, because they're all exposed in school. We don't know who are facing, crossing the road, etc. And it is in a form that is delicious. It tastes like Ribena, and you know, we heard that the elderly are more prone to a more severe case of COVID-19 because of its immune system, and therefore resveratrol reserve is in a form that is in a biogel form. It's easy. You can take it, young, old, any age can take it, and to keep ourselves in the best immune system. Okay. And so, in conclusion, I want to say, hang on, I have a message for all of you. In conclusion, I want to say that two things. Our minds set at meal times ultimately affects how much we absorb. And so putting, I would say my principle is mindful eating. So mindful eating means really take into consideration what you're eating right now, connect to disconnect with your food, give gratitude. And then in conclusion is optimal health requires paying attention to not only what we eat, but how we eat. So I hope that this entire, how long has it been? An hour and 15 minutes have been beneficial to you, to understanding more about your digestive system and how that can lead to a better metabolism, to lose weight, or to increase your immune system, and how you can optimize if you are looking at an alternative supplement, or those of you who don't take supplements, how you want a choice of supplement. And I'll recommend, I won't recommend anything else except that nutrition right down to your DNA levels. Okay, I will close tonight's session by wishing everyone a wonderful night ahead. Okay, good night, everyone. God bless.